Alright, what's going on, Forgotten Nation? I'm your host, FG, and welcome back to some more Pac-Man Museum Plus. It's a new record session, but we're going to pick off right where we left off, which the last time was Pac-Man Time. Honestly, not a good game. I don't think it's very good. That's just my opinion. Honestly, I don't think Pac-Man was doing too well in the home console market in the early 90s. Would it pick up later? Of course. But there was one surprise in the 90s, and that was a return to the arcades. And this one's actually a really big surprise that's here in this collection. Because honestly, as a die-hard fan of the Pac-Man series, this is one that I thought Namco would never release ever again, in favor of another one that actually is included here as well. So, I am proud to finally say, up next, we're playing Pac-Man Arrangement, the arcade version, on modern consoles, baby. I never thought we'd see the light of day, but it's finally here. A way to officially play Pac-Man Arrangements. I can only hope that the rest of the series from the Namco Classic Collection makes its way to modern consoles as well. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, well, let me talk about it right now. Subjective to say, but the early 90s wasn't the kindest to Pac-Man in his transition to the home console market. The arcade, though, always had one advantage that couldn't be found at the time. The hardware was better than what the home consoles could offer. At this point, it was only 16-bit, and it was slowly approaching 64-bit. So that said, there were some arcade games that can never live up to the quality that you'd find on something like the Super Nintendo or the Sega Genesis. And Namco knew this well, because across these years they would sprinkle in some more arcade releases, one of my personal favorites being Mr. Driller. But that said, the focus of this part is actually in the form of not one, but two arcade cabinets, both named, respectively, the Namco Classic Collection, Volume 1 and Volume 2. Each cabinet would feature 3 Namco games that not only had the original version, but would include remakes, or sequels per se, of the original games, boosting a whole bunch of new features and gimmicks, simply known as the arrangement versions. So we had, in order, with Volume 1 and Volume 2, we had Gallagher Arrangement, Xevious Arrangement, Mappy Arrangement, Dig Dug Arrangement, Rally X Arrangement, and the focus of today's part, Pac-Man Arrangement. This is one that a lot of people my age have the most nostalgia for, and that's why I'm really excited about this one in particular, because I grew up with this one. As opposed to the other ones like Pac-Man or Super Pac-Man or Pac-and-Pal, this is the one I played the most when I was a kid, so this is the one I have the strongest attachment to. And that's just the way it goes. You hold nostalgia for the things that you hold dear to you. For me, that was thanks to my exposure with the Namco Museum. For me, it was the PS2, but it also came out for the Xbox and the Nintendo GameCube, many of my friends having the GameCube version. And this was a great way to play Pac-Man Arrangement. As a matter of fact, this would be the only way to play Pac-Man Arrangement on home consoles. The other way most people may know about Pac-Man Arrangement is actually in form of Game Boy Advance, thanks to the Pac-Man collection. And this would be the only way to play Pac-Man Arrangement for a time. Because as a matter of fact, this actually even came out on the Wii U Virtual Console. That said though, we would never see an arcade accurate version of Pac-Man Arrangement on any console for many years. If the last time it came out officially was for the Game Boy Advance, and it never came out in any other form, that's shocking to say the least. And I think the biggest reason for that was because for a time Namco was trying to replace Pac-Man Arrangement for another version of Pac-Man Arrangement, which here in this collection is known as the console version. But we'll talk about that in just a little bit. Next part to be precise. So, after almost 2 decades, it's finally back. The arcade version of Pac-Man Arrangement on modern consoles. I'm excited about this one. I've said it already, so let's not waste any more time and just get straight into it. Alright, here we go. I hope it finally lives up to the hype. Okay, go straight into the demo. So, to talk a little bit about the Namco Classic Collection, the way it would work is that when you put your recorder in, you'd be able to select what game you want to play. It'd give you a little tease between Pac-Man, Rally X, and Dig Dug. And then when you click into it, then you'd have the arrangement or the original. My bet here is that when I insert the quarter, it's going to stop the demo, Yeah, this is being pulled right off of the Namco Classic Collection, but yeah, okay, that's interesting. And it's actually using the Japanese version with the names. So let's insert a coin so it stays on the screen, and let me explain a little bit right now. So going in order, we have the original names: Blinky, Pinky, Inky, Clyde, but then a mystery ghost, simply known here in the West as, and you're gonna laugh at this one, Kinky. Yeah, I can't joke on this one. The fifth ghost is known as Kinky, but his special ability actually ties into the four original ghosts. And so we got some new nicknames, aside from what we knew back in the original, which, if I can try to remember, was Speedy, Bashful, Pokey, and Crybaby. I think so. Something like that. But the new names here, and I gotta really pull this because it's Japanese, I wasn't prepared for that, is Urchin, Romp, Stylist, and I think Crybaby was the fourth one. If I might be wrong on that one. I think it was Crybaby. So those are four new names given to these ghosts. But for what reason? Well, I'll explain as we quarter up. So that said, let's just start right away. Kinky is a power pellet on wheels. So if you eat him, you'll be able to eat the other ghosts. But oh my gosh, I can almost cry right now because of just how good it is. I can't believe it. After all these years, we finally have a new way to play Pac-Man Arrangements. The controls feel a bit stiff if I'm using the control stick. A little better on the D-pad, but it always felt a bit looser playing the original version. I don't know what that's about, but yeah, D-pad works a little better compared to the control stick. Round clear, boom. One of our first gimmicks, of course, is the dash pad. When you use the dash pad, you're able to stun the ghost, and if you get them with a power pellet, they'll be stunned even longer. So to describe, we are in Toy Box World. There's a total of 6 unique worlds here in Pac-Man Arrangement that we'll be going across. Usually they have 4 levels each, but the one exception here is this tutorial world known as the Toy Box. And this is to introduce us to not only the new gimmicks on display here, but also get a feel for Pac-Man. Now, you already saw up above that the new ghost, Kinky, has already used his unique ability on Blinky to create Urchin. Now, Kinky has the unique ability of mutating with other ghosts to become monsters. And in their monster forms, the ghosts have new unique abilities that they couldn't do originally, and each of which pertains to their normal abilities. So in the form of Blinky, he becomes Urchin, and he's able to charge across the stage like a bull. So if you're not careful, he can charge right at you and take your life. This second world is known as the original world, and as you can see immediately, this is going back to the idea that the games may have been remakes or remasters of the original games. I still think, though, it's more of a sequel, all things considered. But this is a one-to-one recreation of the original Pac-Man stage, and as we get past it, then we'll be able to go on and see some more in this style. Pretty cool, though, because honestly, there's been a lot of interpretations of the original Pac-Man, whether it's meant to be a hedge maze, an underground sewer, or even just something of a, I guess, a dreamlike state is the best way to put it. It's cool to see this interpretation of it. I guess the other example would be a boxing ring if we compare it to Pac-Mania. That's the vibe I always got from Pac-Mania with this version. But anyways, we go stage to stage, taking out all the ghosts and using our new abilities. Let's keep it going and try not to die. Now, the best strategy, of course, is to try to take out Kinky before he's able to mutate with the other ghost. If you're able to take out Kinky, he only spawns in a certain amount of times per stage. Early on, it may be 1, but later it'll be 2, 3, 4, sometimes even more so, until all the ghosts have mutated. But we're doing really good right now, no worries just yet. Another big gimmick of the Arrangement series was having 2-player functionality. If I had a buddy with me, you'd be able to have them play right now, right from the get-go throughout the rest of the game, so long as they have quarters, of course. They could jump right into the action, and we'd be competing with each other, going for the high score. Alright, so now Pinky has merged, but I just grabbed the pink pill, which created a sack! Alright, But Pinky's mutation, monster form, is known as Romp, and Pinky will jump across the stage to wherever. But thankfully you can tell because of the target that appears on the stage. So as long as you're watching out, it's nothing to worry about. So anyway, with the pills, there's a total of 4 pills and 2 other unique abilities. Each pill pertains to the monster abilities that we see on display. So red makes me go a little faster. The pink one actually puts them in a sack, which is very similar to the first unique ability, which quite literally is a sack. And then the blue pill actually is my favorite. It allows us to make a duplicate of ourselves in the form of what Inky's monster form does. And the orange pill, which honestly is probably the worst, but still good all things considered, allows us to eat the pellets faster. I'll explain that when we get to a stage where it matters, but right now let's just continue. World 2, this is known as the Water World. And right now, it may look more like a hedge maze because of the green, the coral, but we're actually on the bottom of the sea floor. So, that's why this is known as the Water World. But hey, if we keep it going, then we're going to see it's about to become a lot more industrial. So let's keep it going. When a ghost does merge with Kinky, it's actually worth double the points to eat. So there is a bit of risk and reward if you decide that you don't want to take out Kinky from the get-go. That if you want to try to get some more points. Alright, now focus on the stage. Notice how some pellets are actually bigger than the normal pellets. These bigger pellets actually slow down Pac-Man and leave him much more vulnerable to the other ghosts. So if you're not careful, you can easily lose lives in the process. So you need to be careful. Oh, I thought I was gonna have it. Alright, so Kinky has merged with Inky, and his monster form is known as Stylus. Stylus will make a clone of himself that will be able to show up on both sides of the stage. And easily, he has the best pill in the game because you're able to duplicate yourself. So if you really want to go for the high score, that is the pill to get. What sucks though is when you're trying to get the power pellet, but then the duplicate eats it, but that's besides the point. That's besides the point. So then we only have one unique monster ability, mutation, left. And I'm going to try to stop Kinky from merging this time. Because now it's starting to get a little harder, but I was too late. There's the ring, so when Romp spawns in, Kinky, careful now. So you can see right now, it looks like we're almost on like a navy deck because of the steel color. That's the vibe I got anyways. Like, you're thinking maybe it's like a military ground. It's different. It's very different compared to a normal Pac-Man. Alright, keep going. And the next round. So, I never mentioned it because I was so focused on the game, but some stages, and we'll be seeing some more later, actually have a bit of a pattern that you could follow, and it makes it easier to clear. If you recognize the pattern, I say try to follow it as long as you can, because it's an easy way to get about the stage and not have to worry about the ghost in the process. Honestly, that's probably the only major nitpicks of Pac-Man Arrangement, is that some of those stages have that linearity, I suppose is the best way to put it, where it feels like you're almost just playing it for as you see it. But that's a very small nitpick, all things considered. Like right here, you can see there's a bit of a path for me to follow. I could follow it, and I am going to follow it. It just makes it a little easier. But I don't think that's a big problem the game has, because for the amount of new stages there are and all the new gimmicks, I really do think that this is the strongest game in the Pac-Man Maze series. The original gameplay, that is. I still love the console versions, and some of the later games in the series would become godly, all things considered, and would redefine what we know Pac-Man as. The ones in this collection, though, don't do the home console, the early 90s for the home consoles, much justice. I know a lot of people especially wanted, and I'm going to name this in the next parts, the Pac-Man World series on display here. And I'm with them. I would love to see Pac-Man World 2 make a comeback on modern consoles. Pac-Man World 3? Eh. But I mean, even the original Pac-Man World would be cool to see. So, one could hope. If we finally got this one, I don't see why it's not a possibility that we wouldn't get to see it later on. I can think of one big reason related to the Miss Pac-Man controversy, but that's just skepticism. Anyways though, this next world, World 3, and I just lost, you are able to continue right off, and I think that this game is going to cost the most quarters, just because of having to continue so much. But honestly, I'm doing way better than my previous playthroughs here on the channel. Just do not fail. Alright, nice and easy. Anyways, we have the last monster mutation on form, and that is Clyde. Clyde becomes the Crybaby. And what he does is spit out some more pellets that Pac-Man has to eat. So would you call the pellets cookies in this game, or monster vomits? I don't know. I don't have an answer for that one. It is gross though. It's very gross. No, though, I really would love to see the Pac-Man World Series come back. But really, above all, I just want to see the rest of the Namco Classic Collection make a comeback. My personal favorites, having grown up with them, of course, are Galaga and Dig Dug, but I've always wanted to see Rally X come back as well. That was the one that I enjoyed the most in the arcade, but I'm surprised never did see an official form outside of the arcade. And that's a shame. Anyways, next best thing about the arcade version, let's listen up. Oh, after this part, I'm gonna play the clock just to be able to hear it, because I love the music of Pac-Man Arrangement. Man, it takes me back. Anyways, when it came to the home console versions for the PlayStation, Xbox, and the GameCube, the biggest problem with the emulation of those versions wasn't the gameplay itself, but rather the soundtrack. For whatever reason, I don't actually know the science behind it, but the pitch is actually very different in those releases. It's higher pitched. It's made the sound higher for some reason. Sometimes I think the game actually does sound better in higher pitch, especially the next world. But then there are times where it doesn't match the original game. It's very different. I wouldn't call it bad by any means. I think the worst offender for bad would be the Game Boy Advance port. But at the same time, it also did eliminate certain parts of the songs. So you were kind of getting a reduced version of it. And that was a shame, because there were some sections of these songs that we're hearing even right now that aren't present in the original museum versions collection. But anyways, World 4, this is the Ancient Ruins world. This one has probably the best linear path of the bunch. And this is the one world where I'm willing to double down and say that I like it better with the higher pitch. Especially the main medley. It's going to come in just a moment. Give it a minute here. Wait for it. I love that so much. Perfect. These tracks, along with Pac-Mania, would actually show up in Pac-Man Versus, which, for those that don't know, Pac-Man Versus, it was an original game made for the GameCube to show off the hardware capabilities when using the Game Boy Advance link cable. If those that don't know about it, get Namco Museum for the Nintendo Switch and find a buddy that's got one too, because that is a game that's worth playing. It's even got Charles Martinet as the voice of Mario, doing the narration, I guess you could say the score person in the game. And it's a lot of fun. It really is. Alright, let's keep going. So compared to other games in the Pac-Man series, this would be one of the first that tries to tell a bit of a story pertaining to the monsters, I suppose. Because we work away from a happy world full of colors and bricks, and slowly find our way to this unraveling sense of a ruin. And the next world especially is something that's a bit of a shocker in the Pac-Man series. Is the first instance we'll see of the home turf of the monsters. But hopefully I actually make it to tell the tale. Keep going. So, I have played this many times on my channel. I'm willing to bet that many know my channel because of playing this game. The first time I played it was on the original Namco Museum, which that video is no longer available because it just didn't age well with the algorithm. For some reason, they just don't love it if you capture games in 480p anymore. Bit of a shame, honestly. But also, my commentary just wasn't the best for that one. when I first did those set of videos, that was back when I had the Forgotten Gaming series, I was trying to do where each game I would include one of my friends. So this game would have featured my friend Justin. I was able to get one of them for Galgub, that was my friend Joey, and then the third one would have been my friend Jake. Unfortunately, that didn't really work the way I wanted it to, and only one of my friends out of the three were able to do it. And that's a bit of a shame. I would have loved if it were able to work out that way, just for nostalgia purposes and something to look back at. Well, you know how it is. The second time I played this through the arcade version using emulation. Now, I'll never condone piracy unless it's a last means to access. And now that you can play Pac-Man Arrangement in an official form, I'm going to say please don't emulate or pirate. But if you're playing the other games that have yet to see the light of day, which are, of course, Rally X, or even some of the other ones like Xavius or Mappy, then go ahead, because we're waiting on Namco to do it for us. But anyways, this is the last world of Pac-Man Arrangement, and this is the monster lair. Yeah, this is the secret lair of the ghost. Now, of course, we would see, like, there'd be, like, ghost leaders and whatnot in some of the other games, such as Pac-Man 2 or Pac-in-Time. But this is the first instance where it's the ghosts that are the ones in charge. And it leaves you to wonder, just what are the ghosts? Are they really ghosts in the first place, or are they something more sinister? But this is where the game really does pick up in its difficulty, and it's going to cost a lot more quarters. But thankfully, we only got 2 more stages to go, so let's try to get through them, and not die in the process. Hopefully not die. My favorite thing about this world is that the music in the background has like this phone dial that you keep going. It's like beep, 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 beep. It just becomes sinister. Now, way back when I played this in the arcades was a pizza pub that used to have the Namco Classic Collection. I don't think there was ever an official cabinet for this game, or at the very least, like an official means. It always seemed like what they would do was reskin an existing cabinet, add the marquee up above, and then just place in the PCB. I don't think it ever had any original artwork or anything like that besides the label of the game. I have seen like an image floating around where it's like Pac-Man in his Pac-Man World form, and then you have the 3 games. I don't think that's official. It certainly doesn't look official. But the one where it's like it's got the Namco Classic Collection logo and it's pink, I think that's the original logo. And that's what they used for this game too, so that leaves me to believe that that's the one only original instance of something from the Classic Collection. Boom. And it's cool to see that that at least got preserved. But like this yellow background, I don't think that was the original. As a matter of fact, for the Namco Museum, they would actually have Namco Classic Collection labeled along the side in blue. I'm actually surprised they didn't do it for this one, since that's one of the only few ways we actually know it as a bezel for Pac-Man Arrangement, or even some of the other Arrangement titles. But hey, I'm just glad we finally have Pac-Man Arrangement in a playable form. I'm so glad it finally made it to modern consoles. And it plays great. Okay, we have the last set of pellets above, but the ghosts are going crazy and we were losing quarters. I feel like this is the one flaw of the Pac-Man Museum Plus, is that if you play this game in particular, this is where you'll lose the most quarters. But alright, that's all the rounds. So up next, we have a coffee break where it seems we have something a lot more sinister going on. Blinky, Pinky, Inky, Clyde are taking form to a mech of sorts, and they're off to action. You know what I'm thinking? It's time for a boss fight! This is the very first boss in the Pac-Man series. Maze form, that is. And the official name is known as the Emperor Ghost Mech. This is a very straightforward fight, where the objective is to eat all the pellets, per the norm, but avoid these, I guess you could call them robots. The biggest mystery of Pac-Man Arrangement is, what exactly is Kinky? Is he a monster? Is he a ghost like the others? Or is he something created by them as a mech of sorts? Seeing as Kinky just became mass-produced, it kind of leads you to believe the robot theory, where he's just this creation of the 4 ghosts, and now they're being used to a means of end. Crazy to think about. Alright, nice and easy now. Watch out for them. Ah! Put that last little bit in the bomb left there. Now go for the pellets. Perfect, that's phase 1. And now it's time for phase 2, which is taking on the ghosts themselves. So, just like before, we're getting all the pellets and try to watch out for the ghost mech. And my control stick was not going up. Yeah, my only complaint about this port is the controls seem a little more stiff compared to what we had in the original. Careful! Get me out of here! No! Okay, so you can see we're doing damage to the ghost mech. Ghost is turning blue. Got one more to go. If I don't die in the process, come on! A little bit. Here we go. The final phase, the ghosts go absolutely crazy, and the mech is spinning out of control. This could be the hardest one to avoid just because of how unpredictable it may be. Think of it kind of like the DVD screen that if you leave it idle for so long, you try to have it bounce in the corners. Just more dangerous. Alright. Quarter up. Let's get the last of the pellets. That was unintentional, by the way. And we get all the pellets. We get to our safety points. And they take themselves out. Boom. And that's Pac-Man Arrangement. Take a bow. You finished the game. But the game never really ends. Someone, somewhere, is being chased by monsters. The Namco staff thanks you for playing. Come and play again. And then if this is the arcade version, I believe it should do, the results. So depending on how many Pac-Mans you got, how many monsters you've eaten, and any fruit, you'll get some bonus points. We died a bunch though, so we're not gonna get any bonus points. And if they did it, here we go, we got the staff credits. The staff credits were not in the ports for the Namco Museum or the Pac-Man collection. So here we go, it's finally been included in a home console ports, and everyone that helped make the game is finally being properly credited. And here's something that people may not know about when they decide to emulate the game, especially on something like a Raspberry Pi. It's not strong enough to support some of these extra things like the scrolling. So sometimes when they emulate it, you'll notice sometimes it'll like fade in, sometimes it'll be like black or choppy. That's because it's trying to render these like spinning or like these extra things, but it just can't handle it. Now later versions of MAME or better hardware, more officially, would be able to support that, but something like a Raspberry Pi in this current form, unless you overclock it and use the most recent version of MAME, is not going to support these abilities. So to have something like this on official hardware is great. I'm so glad we finally got Namco, they decided to release the arcade version of Pac-Man Arrangement. But alright, B, N, and M. And that's gonna do it. This has been a full playthrough of Pac-Man Arrangements, and the third time I've done it on the channel here. The original two are no longer available. One was because it just didn't age well. The two was because I used unofficial emulation. But now that it's here, please support Pac-Man Museum Plus so we can see the rest of the Namco Classic Collection make its way to console someday. I can only hope. But alright, let's go to menu and return to the arcade. And let's see some of the missions. And actually, I got back what I lost. Let me know how many credits it took to complete it. Oh, I cleared a lot of the missions. 95! Wow, okay. So, there's gotta be like one mission then? Clear 30 rounds. I just gotta play it a button. Wow, that could have been 100%. Pac-Man Arrangement. World. Ooh, I didn't even think about it. We finally halfway. Oh! We can listen to the soundtrack on the go. Pac-Man Arrangement. World 1, Pac-Man Arrangement. Pac-Man Arrangement. World 2. Oh, and the official names. I hope I got the names right. Ancient Ruins. Pac-Man Arrangement. Pac-Man Arrangement. Green World. Okay. Pac-Man Arrangement. Pac-Man Arrangement. The Monster Secret Base. A free game cabinet. Cool. The Last Boss. Ghost Bee. Oh, it's like the 256. Last Boss Runaway Form. Pac-Man Arrangements. Professor Pac-Man? Whoa! Hello! Alright, here's my impression. Pac-Man! Pac-Man! An evil ghost has taken over the golden fruit of the Pac Village! I can't do it. Alright, so, yeah, there he is, Professor Pac-Man! It's been a long time. I don't think we've seen him since Pac-Man World 2, right? That's crazy to think about. Alright, so, that was Pac-Man Arrangement. Again, I can't stress enough, I'm so glad it made its way to an official collection on modern consoles. And I hope we'll get the rest someday. But now that we looked at the good, unfortunately, we have to look at what I think personally, it might just be nostalgia blindness talking, that is the bad. Up next, and I pushed the wrong button, damn! Forgive me, folks. Let's go back a minute. I'm trying to get used because it's on the console. Up next, we're playing. Aww. Alright, I gotta unlock it first. So, we're gonna play Pac-Man Arrangement next.